There are a lot of things that we have to address in our personal lives. And in this world today, there's just so much going on that we tend to neglect ourselves. And we neglect ourselves by not having the proper knowledge of the things that we indulge in that we think bring us relief and release. And you know what I'm talking about if you saw the title of this particular segment, which probably brought you here. And if you didn't notice it, I'm going to say it. Is porn addiction the reason why you have erectile dysfunction? It's a touchy subject. And I'm directing this, of course, to the men because women don't have erectile dysfunction. But I find it strange that there's so many men who suffer from this condition. And I thought about this. I said, wait a second. Why all of a sudden in the last 2.5 decades, and there have been people who have had this long before, but not only is it with aging men who possibly didn't take care of their health, in an old school way, that's the first thing we think. But now we have younger men, not even just in their early 30s, but in their mid-20s, early 20s, and possibly below. Now we know the diet has a lot to do with how we function physically on all levels, how we sleep, stress levels, our lives, how we perceive our lives. Because one person can perceive a very stressful situation and the next person say, hey, that's a walk in the park. So what is it? What is the link that links so many men to having erectile dysfunction? And now, on top of that, what do they reach for? There's many varieties of what I'm about to say, but they usually reach for that little blue pill. If you have erectile dysfunction, it's okay. Take Viagra, Cialis, and a host of other aids that can help you to perform. And yes, I'm going to keep this decent. And ladies who are listening, you need to hear this also, because I've done a little research. And since I've become that big brother, older uncle that many men reach out to me for, there's a trust. So after a couple of conversations with different individuals, of course, you know, when you reach out to me and you have a topic for me to speak about, I will never put your name out there. I will never blow you up that way. But this is requested. So I did a little research, and please guide me. If there's any topic you want to speak about, just let me know. I have a little bit of time in my hands. So I don't mind diving deep and trying to go off the beaten path of what most people assume to be the answer. But I found a connection. I found a connection between porn addiction and erectile dysfunction. I'm not a doctor. This is not medical advice. This is just little old me snooping around to see if I can get an answer. So in my notes, I'm going to share them with you. Porn addiction is one of the most misunderstood problems of our time. Most people think it's about sex, desire, or lack of self-control. That misunderstanding keeps people stuck in shame and confusion. The truth is much deeper. And once it's understood, everything changes. Oh, I forgot to welcome everybody back. This is Scurv, your host, Scurv X, and this is the Scurv Podcast. How rude of me. Please forgive me. I just jumped right into it. This addiction doesn't just damage sex drive. It slowly drains emotion, motivation, joy, and the ability to feel pleasure from real life. Over time, a person doesn't just lose interest in intimacy, they lose interest in everything. Life starts to feel flat, dull, and empty. What makes this even more dangerous is how normal and accepted porn has become. It's everywhere. It's free, and it's designed to feel harmless. But behind the scenes, it's one of the most powerful dopamine hijacking systems ever created. And we're going to get into that. This is why erectile dysfunction is rising fast in men under 40. Indeed it is. This isn't just about erections failing. This is about desire disappearing, climax becoming difficult, and emotional numbness taking over. The body wants stimulation, but the soul feels empty. See, it's much deeper than the physical. To escape this trap, the problem has to be understood correctly. Porn addiction is not a moral failure. It is a neurological trap built around dopamine. And once dopamine is understood, the way out becomes clear. Dopamine is not a pleasure chemical. This is the biggest lie people believe. Dopamine is about anticipation, craving, and pursuit. It's the gas pedal that pushes the brain to want more. Pleasure comes later, but dopamine is what drives the chase. Porn exploits this system perfectly. It offers endless novelty, instant access, and constant escalation. The brain doesn't get time to rest or reset. Each click delivers another spike, another rush, another craving. This creates a loop where anticipation grows stronger while satisfaction grows weaker. I'm going to say that again. This creates a loop where anticipation grows stronger while satisfaction grows weaker. Over time, the brain needs more stimulation to feel anything at all. Soft content no longer works. The brain demands more extreme material to get the same response. This is where desensitization happens. Dopamine receptors begin to shut down to protect the brain from overload. This is called downregulation. The receptors are still there, but they stop responding. The result is high craving with low pleasure. This is why porn addiction feels empty and compulsive at the same time. The brain is screaming for stimulation, but the reward never satisfies. The person is stuck chasing a feeling that never arrives. I'm going to later on share some of the conversations and discussions that I had with a few brothers, and they gave me permission to speak on this. So I'm not violating them in any way. And of course, their identity is always safe with me. The brain is wired to respond to novelty. This is called the Coolidge effect. In nature, desire drops after repeated exposure, but instantly returns with something new. Porn weaponizes this instinct. Endless scrolling, Autoplay and related videos keep novelty flowing without effort. The brain never settles. It never finishes the cycle. It just keeps wanting more. This is why escalation happens. It's not about taste or preference. It's about tolerance. The brain needs stronger stimulation to overcome numbed receptors. What once felt shocking becomes normal. What once felt exciting becomes boring. Let me just interject this. This is why when you have a porn addiction, to get the same rush, you have to go more extreme in your fetishes. You have to dig deeper to something more way out there until you're at the point that you're stimulating yourself while watching this stuff to something that you would have never comprehended you'd even mentally indulge in. Okay? This pattern mirrors insulin resistance. Just like sugar overload leads to insulin resistance, dopamine overload leads to dopamine resistance. The body produces more, but the receptors stop responding. Eventually, the brain exists in a state of constant craving with reduced pleasure. Real relationships feel slow. Real intimacy feels weak. Real life cannot compete with artificial intensity. Real intimacy is unpredictable, emotional, and gradual. Porn is instant, extreme, and controlled. The brain adapts to what it consumes the most. When dopamine is constantly spiked, real life feels dull by comparison. This is not because real life is boring. It's because the brain has been overstimulated. Too much dopamine creates something called excitotoxicity. Overexcitement damages neurons. The brain protects itself by shutting down sensitivity. Just like squinting in bright light, dopamine receptors close to protect the system. This leaves the person trapped. They crave stimulation, but feel disconnected. They want intimacy, but feel numb. They seek relief, but only deepen the cycle. And for you ladies who are listening to this, I'm going to explain exactly what this means when I'm finished with the notes. The good news is that dopamine receptors can recover. The brain can heal. But the solution is not more stimulation. It's just the opposite. The most powerful weapon against porn addiction is boredom. Not passive boredom with life, but intentional boredom with the craving itself. Let me explain. When the urge hits, most people fight it, distract from it, or give in to it. All three feed the dopamine cycle. The brain stays loud and demanding. Instead, boredom shuts the system down. Sitting still with the urge, without reacting, starves dopamine. There is no excitement, no anticipation, no reward. At first, the urge gets louder. Then it peaks. Then it fades. Each time this happens, the brain learns that the craving does not control behavior. Dopamine begins to normalize. This is a dopamine fast. The receptors slowly return. The mind becomes quieter. Obsessive thoughts lose power. The environment must support this change. Triggers need to be removed. Devices should be blocked. Temptation should not be nearby. This is not weakness, it's strategy. Sleep is critical. Dopamine recovers during rest. Even 1 extra hour makes a difference. Exercise restores balance, especially resistance training. Diet matters. Excessive carbohydrates spike dopamine and worsen cravings. Most don't know that. A clean, low-carb approach helps stabilize the system. Zinc and magnesium support dopamine regulation. Sunlight restores rhythm and mood. Productive work, movement, and time outdoors rebuild real reward pathways. Life slowly becomes satisfying again without artificial stimulation. Porn addiction is not about sex. It's about dopamine hijacking the brain's survival system. Understanding this removes shame and reveals the real solution. The way out is not more stimulation, motivation, or willpower. It's learning to tolerate boredom when the urge screams the loudest. Boredom is not weakness. It's the reset button. It allows the brain to heal, receptors to return, and real desire to come back. Over time, cravings lose intensity. Thoughts quiet down. Emotion returns. Pleasure becomes natural again. Freedom comes not from chasing excitement, but from mastering stillness. And so I spoke earlier about how that works, where you want more stimulation because in actuality, the dopamine receptors are shutting down. And so many men, and I already said the PORN word, which YouTube doesn't like, so I can say the other word. Men who masturbate, which is 90-something%, the majority of men do that, whether they admit it or not. They do it while watching pornography. Different types of pornography. I'm not getting into the types of pornography. We know it's vast. But when you first encounter this, it's very exciting. And you have things that you like to see and things that you want to see acted out. Whatever it is in your mind, I don't know. We're all different. But the bottom line is that after a while, that's not enough. And you see, you have these sites. This is the last time I'm going to say porn. You know what I mean. You have these sites that offer free adult material. And if you really wonder how these guys make money, they don't make money off of the majority of people who are watching it for free. They make billions of dollars. From what I heard in my research was only 1% of all of the material consumed. 1% of the people will pay for certain things. Maybe it's something so specific that gets them going. Maybe it's a particular adult star, a situational porn, whatever it may be. But they found the holy grail of porn, and so they'll pay for it. While 99% of everyone else, they don't. And if you happen to go down that road, you know that there's all types of things out there. And so this is why many men, yes, you can have a sickness, you can have a hormonal problem. There are a lot of reasons why you can suffer from erectile dysfunction, but I'm willing to bet that the majority of the cases are from men desensitizing themselves, overstimulating themselves. So when they get in the bed with their wife, with their woman, they can't perform. Or They may try to perform by thinking about what they saw on that movie. That's the thing that may get them going. So I hate to use the term, but he's basically using you as a glorified friction provider. You're providing friction. He's masturbating, but he's using your body to do so, but his mind is not there. So this is where the emotional desensitizing comes in. He might love you, but his indulgence in porn has robbed his connection with you. And yes, the woman may do special things, perform certain acts, get into certain kinks and fetishes, but really and truly, it's got to be about you. Don't try to keep up with a pornographic movie. You won't win. Just like Talia Shire, who played Adrian, Rocky's wife, and she said, "You can't win." You can't, because it's just too much stimulation. Click a button here, click a button there. And the way porn works with these free sites, if you have a particular liking for something, if you want to view a FMF, a female, male, female threesome, you can find it. But guess what? In the sidebar, just like on YouTube, you have dozens of other ones to see. So if that one doesn't get it for you, boom, you can see this one, you can see that one. And let me tell you what was shared with me. And it was actually three brothers. We were all in the same conversation. One brought it up and the other two were like, "Yeah, you're so right." I was like, "Yes, okay. Do I have permission to talk about this?" They said, "Yeah, just don't tell our names." Well, you have some men who have been doing this for many years, saved many videos into their computer or links where they can go back to, and they never go back to them after a while because they need something more outrageous to focus on. And I knew something like this was going to happen. Let me go back, hold that point. I was with my buddy back in the late 70s. I was a teenager. And we went into an adult movie and magazine store in the old Times Square when there was nothing but sex, filth, and movies and prostitution and all this crazy stuff. So they had shopping carts like in the supermarket. And there were grown men pushing the shopping carts. And this is a well-lit place. It was bright. And it felt like a supermarket. It was a porn supermarket. In the late 70s, I think this was 78. I was 15 years old. And grown men are like, la da 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 da, da da, excuse me, and sorry, and reaching up, I just want to reach that one over there. And I'm like, they're so cool with this thing. But they had different categories back then. They had certain categories where it focused on body parts. And I'm trying to keep this decent, but I still have to make my point. Where they had movies with big-breasted women, they had movies with two women, they had movies, you get the point. And so I told my friend, I said, "Listen, I was wise back then. I kind of knew what was going to happen." And I said, "You know what?" And I had no idea this thing, the internet, was going to come around. That made it worse. I said, "Listen, years from now, there's going to be more categories and more fetishes out here. This is just the beginning." In that level, on that level, I was a prophet. Because now in 2026, I can't believe some of the things that try to pop up on my screen. I have friends that say, "Hey man, look at this. This is crazy." And it gets worse and worse and worse to things that are very dark. Now let's speak about what they said. They said, "Man, I'm watching the porn." And they were stimulating themselves. They were masturbating. And it just didn't do anything for me. But 3 weeks ago, I was so excited watching it. So I went to look for something else. So I clicked on something else. I got a quick rush, but do you know I sat there for 3.5 hours trying to find something to trigger me into excitement so that I can achieve my peak. I can have an orgasm. It wasn't even feeling good anymore, but I was determined to get that orgasm, but I kept clicking buttons, and nothing did it for me. Dopamine receptors were shut down, but you just don't know it. You're like the rabbit on the treadmill, chasing that carrot, not realizing that the treadmill is going to keep on moving and you'll never move forward to grab that carrot. So what does this do to your mind? You see all of these women. In one of your sessions, you might go through hundreds of them, seeing different bodies, seeing different acts perform. And now you go to bed with your own woman. Where's the excitement? It shouldn't just be a physical excitement, but because of all of the stimulation that you had and your dopamine receptors shut down, they're not going to wake up for her. She is nothing compared to, and I'm not saying that on an emotional level, your lover. I'm just saying that part of you is not stimulated by her because mentally, as they say, you've been ran through. Now, on another level, there's a spiritual aspect to this that many people don't even talk about. I've spoken about this before, but I have to add this back in. I have a theory, and I'll say that it's a theory. I'm not going to say it's fact because it hasn't been proven. But I have a theory that, okay, let's go back to the real life before I say my theory. In real life, when you go to bed with them, you form a connection. The connection is often referred to as soul ties. A soul tie between you and this next person is hard to break. I don't care if it's a one-night stand, an affair for a couple months, or a marriage or some type of off-and-on relationship for a couple of years. There's a blending that happens, and it's a righteous process. But we abuse ourselves so much by having different partners that we form soul ties with so many different people. This is why we seem to be confused in what we want to achieve in life, because we're connected to other people and their energy even after they're gone. Now, I've heard that soul ties can dissipate after 7 years. And that sounds about right. But I'll go on further to say the deeper the soul tie, the longer it's going to take to go away. And my theory is that with all of the porn that people watch, and you're so focused on their bodies, that person that you're looking at while you masturbate might be dead and gone, but I feel that you can create a soul tie with that person who's not even on this level. It's an addiction for sure. So this is why many of us are just so confused now. Walking around in everyday life, which has nothing to do with sex, even though your mind is looking for it so much, because in that imaginary world, in the world of your mind of what's put there, and those are real people, of course, but you're not finding it in real life. You're looking through a sexual lens, and any little thing doesn't excite you, but you spring to attention mentally, and we're not talking between your legs. So now you're thinking on that level, and you can't really see the beauty of life. Also, the self-stimulation and that intense mental experience should be shared with someone. Not the self-stimulation, I'm just saying this intense experience should be, perfect world, it should be with your mate. And as you well know, I have a lot of history in talking about these things and living those things from my past, so I do know what I'm talking about. And if I can go back to the young version of me and say, hey, don't get into all of that, all these women and all these soul ties. But you live and you learn. So people who feel that, well, That can't be as bad. I'm not a crackhead. I don't shoot heroin. I'm not an alcoholic. I don't have an anger management problem. But you have a masturbation porn addiction. You're worse off than just as bad. I can't say what's worse and what's not, but that's right up there. You lock your door, you get your lubrication, you go and find those movies, and you go to do what you do. You're killing yourself. Your life force is draining. This is why you're lethargic, not just after the act, because anything that brings on orgasm is going to make you sleepy if it's nighttime and you're relaxing, and that's the sleeping pill for many men. They go to that when they're stressed, when the bills are mounting and the pay doesn't match what you have to pay out for the bills. The job is stressing you. There's some major change that you've gone through in your life. It may be positive, it may be negative, but change can be very stressful. What do? Lock yourself away and masturbate. But the very life that you want to pursue, now you're draining yourself. You're taken away from your drive because you know this colorful, sexy world of all of these women. I'm saying women because I'm into women, right? But you know what I mean? They got gay porn, bestiality, animals. I don't know what you're into, but it's the same effect. You got to be careful. You're draining your life force. This is why life can feel very boring. It can feel boring, but the very remedy is to be bored. Resist. It's not going to be easy. You're going to have withdrawals. You're going to want to get into it again, but that feeling will go away mighty quick. It'll come back again because you've been doing this pretty much for years. Most men. Unless you discovered this thing as a young teenager. But you're kind of shutting out your mate if you have one, because you're indulging in something that you're very secretive about, having this pleasure while you can have it, but it's not her. It's not her. So you can't relate to her anymore. You can if you step away from these indulgences and take your time. Maybe if you admitted to her that that's the problem and she can help you. Right? But most men, they are never going to admit to it. Ladies, ask your man, do you masturbate? Do you jerk off? They might admit it. Now, another man shouldn't be asking another man that, but if another man hey man, you do that? No man, I don't do that. Because it's viewed by many men as a sign of weakness. Nobody's proud of that. Nobody's gonna come to work and get to the break room at lunchtime and there's a few close inner circles of fellas there. Hey man, I put a good one in. Man, it was so good. Really? What movie were you watching? Send it to me. I want to try it out tonight myself. Nobody does that. So there's shame involved with that. Because even though many men do it, to publicly proclaim that, many would feel would make them less than a man. So there's all kind of feelings with this thing. But the soul tie thing, that's my theory. You fixate, even if it's one time with this one faceless woman who you probably don't even see her face if it's doggy style, but you're getting off on the visuals. You're making a connection. Because to me, there are portals that open up in your being to connect with something. So when you do a movie like this, on the flip side now, and you're titillating men with what you're doing with the other people who are there, the one person, the two, the group, or whoever. It could be a gangbang, I don't know. But you also are being connected to the people who are viewing you and pleasuring themselves. It could be an old movie from the 1970s. and that person's dead and gone. Wherever they are, wherever their energy is, unless there's some type of divine intervention where those sins were cut, it's going to keep on adding. Like they say, residual income, there'll be a residual soul tie. And this is why when you bond with someone, you can somewhat take on their characteristics, not all the way, but it's something to look into. And unless you look to break those soul ties, you could be, let's just make an extreme case to prove a point. See how this goes beyond pornography? If a person that you forged a soul tie with, you broke up, it could be a year that has gone by. You've gotten into other partners, but that soul tie remains the same way it does with those other partners. So this particular partner has an issue with anger. And ever since you started sleeping with this woman, maybe you didn't notice it, but you begin to have an issue with control and controlling your emotions and controlling your anger. It doesn't have to be something great as far as like, I went from 0 to 60 in 2.3 seconds with my anger. It could be an averaging out with that energy. But now you have more of a propensity to be angry, and it's because of that connection that you forged with this young lady, having sex with her, because it's a blending, it's a merging, it's a joining. That's a divine thing, but we abuse it. So now you go and lay with this one and that one, 6 months with this one, 2 nights with the other one. You're averaging out with all of these different energies, and you're not you anymore. You don't even know yourself anymore. And you're still sitting down in front of the computer screen to stimulate yourself to these strangers, killing off your dopamine receptors. You're trapped. Erectile dysfunction has walked through the door. So you can take all of the pills you want. You can get all of the machines and contraptions to place on your penis to electrically stimulate the blood flow and all. That's not the problem. The problem is an oversexed mind beyond what it's supposed to be. Many of the men are not going to like to hear this, but the late Dr. Loyola Africa said that a man should have an orgasm once a year. I know many of you men are going to shut this one off now. You don't want to hear that. But then again, there's information out there that says that a man should ejaculate at least 21 times a month to pretty much stave off the possibility of having prostate cancer because of the fluids that, put it this way, it's like running clean water through your pipes. The pipes are never going to get rusty. They're never going to get clogged because you constantly have water running through it. So which one is it? I don't know. I got to research that one. I think most men would lean toward the last one. Oh yeah, I can do that one 21 times a month, no problem. So there's a lot that we have to learn. But I do believe that there's a connection between adult movies and erectile dysfunction and the lack of interest in life because your life force is being drained. Many of us don't realize how many vitamins and minerals and fluids, powerful fluids out of our body, because when you ejaculate, come on now, it feels good. But it's supposed to be going into the womb of the woman to impregnate her. Whether you wanted to or not, that's the purpose of it. You're creating life. So in creating life, that's going to be a very powerful substance. The sperm that you ejaculate the fluid is very powerful, rich with nutrients, life force. So you're just giving it away for free, spilling it to the floor. There's some reference in the Bible where they said about a man spilling his seed to the ground. And many people have deciphered that as meaning masturbation and ejaculation. But that's an area that we all have to pay more attention to, and we have to inform our younger brothers. And it could be an awkward conversation. Of course, nobody's going to admit that. But what can happen to them as they get older? Well, look at societies, or look at a time before we had porn. Many men didn't have this problem. I'm quite sure it came to be from other situations, other health issues, the physical issues, right? And of course, they had magazines, they had movie theaters, but everybody wasn't doing that. You know, down in Times Square on 42nd Street, nothing but one after the other. Sex movies, live shows, girls, just anything you wanted to see. But those guys made an effort to go out and wear the trench coat and flip up the collars and pull down the hat so they're not seen. But now it's very satanic that you can, at the click of a button, in the privacy of your own home, behind a locked door with the big family-sized jar of Vaseline right at your disposal, you can just literally drain your life away. It is highly addictive. And this is why there are many men who, it's not the only reason now, I'm not going to say that, but I believe there's a good percentage of men who now have gotten lost in their world of masturbation and don't even want to bother with a real woman anymore. And because a lot of them know they can't even perform anyway. So it's a double-edged sword. Well, I can't get it up anyway, and I can't keep it up, so why mess with women? Let me just go home and play with myself and have a good feeling and then go to bed. It saves me money. They try to rationalize it. I don't have to go on dates anymore. But I really think that with the epidemic of erectile dysfunction and the epidemic of porn, somebody's watching it. Look at the countless billions of dollars that are being made. And remember what I said, 1% of all of the people who watch porn are paying for it to produce those countless billions. Most people just look at the free stuff. So they put this out there to draw in that 1%. I'm quite sure they want more than 1%. But if that 1% is enough to make such a overwhelmingly lucrative endeavor of this industry, and it's different now. We have people who are making their own homemade stuff. You have OnlyFans. You have people now who can capitalize on these addictions directly themselves now. Yeah, I remember a time when I was in bodybuilding, they tried to recruit me into the adult movie industry. Nah, I couldn't do it. I did a few photo shoots to admit the truth. Got paid for it. But movies, no. And I'm going to tell you how it was back then. Let me tell you a little personal story. Too much information, but I'm going to tell you a personal story. I was contacted because they'd reach out to people in bodybuilding gyms back in the day. This is a different world now. This is like 1982, 83, 84. And I was in the neighborhood of this person who had contacted me and a few other guys. I'm nosy. Let me see what this is all about. I knew what it was all about, but let me see what this is really all about. I remember it was on Lexington Avenue, down in the 20s, like 20-something street. You had delis, you had stores and shops and boutiques, and there was a doorway, has a stairway going up, a few offices and stuff, no elevator. I knocked the door, rang the bell rather. They opened the door, buzzed me in. I spoke to them. I said, yeah, I'm going to pass by and hear this pitch. I want to know how this thing works. They said, oh, you're fabulous. We saw your photos in the magazine, the bodybuilding magazine, so we knew the gym you trained in. We wanted to contact you and maybe you'd be interested in making some good money. I said, well, I just want to hear you out. Now, I knew I wasn't going to do that. My parents were alive and I'm younger and I know one day I want to have kids. Oh, no way. Even though I am a little crazy back in those days and was a little wild back in those days, I wasn't putting something out. I knew even before the internet was around the way it is now, I knew that stuff would last forever. You're not, Not that I wanted to become president. So they said, well, listen, come down and sit down here by the desk. And I went into this office. We sat down. Professional, nice looking place. But I noticed all around the room, there were pictures of porn stars, male and female, but just from the neck up. Shots taken from actual movies. How did I know? Well, of course. As a young teenager, you got friends, you get a videotape and you play it on the VCR and you're sitting up there late at night looking at it. You get to know these people's faces. I think I'm the most honest man on the internet. But anyway, I'm knowing some of these faces. So this guy, he was like a vaudeville carnival barker. Hurry, hurry, step right up. The kind of guy that would do anything or set you up any kind of way to make money or deceive you, and you find out it's not what it was. And he had a cigar, and he looked like a cartoon character. He was gray, he was skinny in his body, but his belly was fat, overindulgence in rich foods and probably alcohol. And a cigar, it seemed like floated on his bottom lip like a cartoon. He's talking and the cigar's jumping up and down, but it never fell. And I saw just a cigar sitting on his bottom lip. He had a wedding band, but I know he didn't give a damn about marriage. So he told me, he said, listen, you're a good looking guy. It wouldn't be hard to create you and build you up into being an adult movie star. He says, but, and I'm like, okay, but what? But you just don't jump to the top like that. I want to show you something. Now we have the female actresses and we have the male actresses, and you seem to be in good shape. I'm quite sure you can perform in front of people, which you know when you watch these movies, unless it's something homemade. Back in the day, you had whole camera crews, 10, 15 people around you in a hotel room, boom mics and cameras, multiple camera angles, 2 or 3 people sitting over there drinking coffee, looking at their watch like, when is this going to be over type thing. Not romantic at all. And you have to be able to perform on command. There's a young lady that you're performing with, wants to get up and use the bathroom, or you have to stop and, start again with all of these bright lights on you. That wasn't the problem. Not that I was thinking about doing it. He whipped up this big book, like a photo album. That's what it was. And the thing that I'll never forget him saying, I realized he had a slight Boston accent. He said, well, if you commit to this and we sign the papers, we're going to have to go through the process of star building. Like the fish on the tuna commercial when they say star-kissed tuna. Star building. I said, okay, this guy, if he's not strictly from Boston, he's lived there for many years. So he says, we go star building. You have to go through a process to prove yourself. Because there are other markets other than the adult heterosexual porn market. When he said that, I knew where he was going. There are other levels, there are other categories that are actually at this point in time bigger. My heart sunk. I wasn't considering it anyway, but I didn't want to hear that. So he opened the book and he says, you're going to have to be able to perform on the male circuit. I said, what do you mean by that? He opened the book and turned it around and started to slowly flip pages. And all of these male porn stars that we would see on the movies with women, but we're not looking at them, we were looking at the women. These guys that we saw on a heterosexual level were doing straight up gay porn. And he showed me the most graphic pictures you ever want to see. I'm not telling you what I saw. If you want me to tell you, hit me up on WhatsApp, or maybe I'll do another show on Scurv X. If you want me to talk about the gritty, it'll be limited. I'll do it. But I could not believe how some of these dudes who I saw many times with women doing all kind of things with women, in this case, they were bent over like a woman, being used like a woman, putting things in their mouth like a woman. Come on now. Turn my stomach. I wasn't even hearing him no more. I'm just staring off into space. I was looking at him, but I wasn't really hearing him anymore. All I could hear was star building. You're a good looking kid and we got to take this to the next level. I already know you have a great body and we can build you into a star and you can make lots of money. I'm not doing no gay stuff. I'm sorry. I wasn't even going to do the hetero stuff anyway. Unbelievable. But I got tremendous insight into how it worked back then and how big that end of the porn industry was. So on a spiritual level, these movies can pull you into a space of addiction beyond the worry of erectile dysfunction. We're talking about your soul now. We're talking about what's consuming your life now and leading you down a path to eternal doom. Whatever it is on the other side when you transition, this thing here, it's relentless. Because I'm going to say this, sexual energy between a man and a woman on a righteous level is a whole lot different than this stuff that you join on to as you're giving away free energy. Let me tell you something that I know. When they have occult, certain types of occult gatherings, sex, orgies and group sex, they participate in because of the energies that they're trying to draw closer to you or closer to them. Excuse me. Yeah, and you if you're there. So understand that when you're locked away by yourself, doing your thing, watching a porn flick, you're not the only entity there. You're basically telling these detached demonic entities. This is when you're going to think I'm loony now, right? You can think I'm crazy. I have no problem with that. I know what I know. Because when you're watching something and you begin to get excited, that is, if your dopamine receptors aren't shut down, and you approach orgasm, there are things around you that are not good, that are benefiting from that are, excuse my choice of words, but they're sucking your soul. They're sucking your energy. This is why the wrong woman with the wrong intentions, and we're talking deeply adult now. We're not trying to be funny. I'm telling you what I know. When she goes down on you and she's not for you, she may be into different occult activities, or she just may be out there and being led by other entities and living a wanton way. But the ones who are into things, who want your energy, as a righteous man trying to live righteous, but you're a man, and so the penis is going to get in the way, because penis possession is a very difficult thing to deal with. Okay? That has destroyed more men than drugs. So when you get, let me just get to the point. When you get a woman who understands the occult practices and how sex can play into this, and they want to snatch your destiny, they will go down on you, and I'm gonna tell you, they're gonna do it so good, over and above, and you think you in heaven, but they're escorting you to that place called hell. And they're benefiting from your energy, not just from the physical substance that they will swallow. And I'm sorry to talk like this if I'm offending you, but we got to get down in it. This is one of those times I'm going to talk. But that life force that you gave them, that's why we know sex is very powerful. The fantasy stuff that is put in our head is very powerful. There are entities walking this earth that are human, and some that ain't, that are looking to kill and devour and destroy your life. I didn't even know I was going to talk this way. I'm just telling you. I know, because I've dealt in the past with many of them. As good as it felt, I knew what it was. You know, I'm not going to continue on. I don't want this video to get flagged. But if you want, we can have a discussion on all of these things, and I'll let it all out. We could do it on landscurvx.com. I could do it on a live show that I can put the link here on YouTube. We'll go over there and talk about those things live. I can do that. Let me know. If one or two people want it, I'll do it and I'll put it up. If you don't want to hear it, you don't have to. But this thing, they talk about the C-19 was a pandemic. Nah. Porn is a doorway to hell. And there are a lot of demonic entities out here that are just waiting to destroy your life. I'll leave it at that. I want to hear the comments. I want you to let me know what you want me to do. If you don't want me to talk about these things anymore, I won't. No, I probably will, but I'm just saying I'm not going to push it down your throat. Wrong terminology with this subject. But it's something that we need to know, and it's something that a lot of our young men need to know. Because it can take over your whole life, and I've seen people that this has destroyed their life. Literally destroyed their talented people who fell down the slippery slope, starting with porn, and they ended up in a whole different existence, that the potential, the God-given potential, was not realized. I hope I haven't offended anybody with words that I've used or things that I've talked about. And I hope this video doesn't get flagged or taken down. But it will be on landscurvx.com. If it's not on YouTube, it will be on LandscurvX. And on that note, you have to go to LandscurvX and submit your email so that everything we talk about will go directly into your inbox and you won't miss anything. There'll be no games. It'll be a direct relationship with you and I. Okay? I just want to say I wanted to share these things out of love to prevent people from losing their lives or losing their mind or not being able to function. That's the beginning of it. And that's the least of it, really. I'm glad we evolved this conversation and went deeper and went a little, further. You mothers with sons, we know we have gang violence and gun violence and, women out here that, may give them some disease or whatever, but they have to know about this stuff as much as you're willing to share from a young age to really put it in their mind. And they still might get into things, but at least they know, and they'll be able to come back to sanity because the seed of knowledge and what's right was put in their head. They have the foundation, and it's your responsibility to do so. Know that I love you all. There's nothing that I won't talk about. Straight up, I've lived life to the fullest. There's a lot that I've experienced, and I know how deep that rabbit hole can go. And that's one of the subjects that I'm a specialist on, okay? So let's talk. Let me know how you feel. Are we going to get down? All right? I do love you all, and I appreciate you. This is not about hits. This is not about like those pastors out there who want a big congregation and they want to get money or whatever. Yeah, money's good. I can put it to good use. I want a fixed income. But I do this from the heart for many years. Even though this channel was from February of 2024, my other channel was many years and almost 6,000 videos. So you know me, if you know me from before, that I do this from the heart. I do this out of love. All right? Hit me up anytime, 407-590-0755 on WhatsApp, or text is preferred. I'm in a different time zone, living out here in the eastern region of Ghana. But I'll take all calls. I'll take all text messages. You text me, I'll respond. All right? Much love to you all. Take care. I'm on to the next one. Scurv out. This has been a very interesting conversation. Peace.